An inmate died following a fight involving multiple prisoners at USP McQuarrie, a high-security federal prison in Pine Knot, Kentucky, on Monday, February the 16th, 2026. The incident is under investigation by the Bureau of Prisons and the FBI, with few specific details regarding the identity of the deceased inmate released at this time. Key details: location, USP McQuarrie, Pine Knot, Kentucky. Date of incident, Monday, February the 16th, 2026. Context: the death resulted from a fight involving multiple inmates. Action: FBI has been notified, which is standard procedure for inmates' death in federal custody. The incident follows previous violent altercations at the facility, and there has literally been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of violent altercations at USP McQuarrie and really all United States penitentiaries around the country. Literally, you're in a place where death is around every corner. And, with all due respects to, whatever state system you've been in or you're familiar with, it's nothing like a United States penitentiary. If you take the worst guys out of your state and you do that with all 50 states and all the U.S. territories, and you put them together, you'll end up with what is referred to as a United States penitentiary system. This lady here, she did an excellent little piece on it, and I think it's worth putting on this channel just so you'll have an idea of what the situation is.
I want to talk about what is happening at McQuarrie USP. McQuarrie is a maximum security facility run by the Bureau of Prisons up in Kentucky, and it's a really violent place. And so kind of here is what is going on right now, and I have this on really good authority. I've got a couple of clients who are there. I mean, the staff just isn't in control of the place. It's currently being run by the gang members, and here's what's going on. So when somebody comes into the institution, when they're getting processed through, they have got 2 weeks in order to get their paperwork from their case at the district court level so that they can provide that paperwork to the gang members to prove that they have not cooperated. If they do not provide that paperwork, then they become targets and they have hits out on them and they may be attacked, they may be murdered. If an inmate who's coming in decides to go into protective custody instead of giving this information to the gang members, then they're identified as cooperators and they're similarly targeted. I mean, I've got a couple of clients who are, big guys, big guys. They were really big men on the outside. And now that they are at McQuarrie, they fear for their lives. I don't know what's going on. It seems to me like nothing like this could happen without the administration of McQuarrie knowing what's going on. Certainly the Bureau of Prisons knows what's going on, yet nothing is being done. And these men, they're serving their time, but they didn't receive the death penalty. And so somebody needs to do something about what's happening there before more people are injured and murdered.
I'm going to help this lady understand what's going on as well as you. I did 2 years at United States McQuarrie. I did 10 years in the United States penitentiary system. I don't think the general public really has an idea of what's going on in there and what kind of monsters are eventually a lot of times released back into society. Hey, but before we get into that, man, I sure would appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. Get this video in the algorithm. It really would make it worth my while to keep making these type of videos. This is a small independent channel. I'm not even monetized yet, but I suspect I will be in some point in the future. And your like and subscriptions, it really helps the channel get up and pumping, and I would really, really appreciate it. Yeah, man, today we're going to talk about United States Penitentiary McQuarrie. I did 2 years there, and it's a real serious place. Now, to respond to what this lady said, right, and her approach is made, with no disrespect, from a somewhat ignorant to the system approach. She appears to be an attorney with clients housed in USP McQuarrie. So if you're a prisoner housed in USP McQuarrie, there's not very many reasons why, some lady's going to be talking about your case. So she's probably an attorney, I would imagine, representing people there or whatever's going on. And she has the basic of the story right, but there's a few nuances that she just really don't know about. First of all, this is the main problem. You have put people in a place. So McQuarrie holds about approximately 1,000 prisoners, approximately, give or take 100, depending on how many people's there. And I would imagine it's probably full now because they shut the SMU down. The SMU held about 2,000 people. It was a special management unit. It was first in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and then they moved it to Thompson, Illinois. Well, they shut that down now, so you don't have as much movement as you once did. So now these United States penitentiaries have become hotbeds of violence. And see, what a lot of people don't understand about violence, but after having lived around violence the majority of my life, different levels of violence also, violence is like a cold. Once one person catches it and brings it into an environment, it takes on a life of its own. And it never really runs its course, because by the time the last guy in the neighborhood or the facility catches it, it's done morphed to such a degree that the first guy who had it can catch it again. So it just takes on a life of its own. And it's an environment where not only is violence deeply rooted in that environment, the truth is there's no reason for most men there to behave. All right? There's no reason, okay? So if you're doing life without parole and you got to do 85% of it, okay, you're never going to get out. And that's 60% of the prisoners held at USP McQuarrie or any other United States penitentiary. There's a big difference between federal prison camps, sweet, lows, kind of okay, somewhat okay, but not really sweet, but not really horrible. FCIs, some of them are rocking and rolling, some of them are kicked back, and then they got something for you. It's called the United States Penitentiary. See, another reason why paperwork is so important in the United States Penitentiary is because most of the men who are housed in United States penitentiaries are housed there and have those life sentences of 40 or 50 years because someone got on the stand and said, yep, he did it. You understand? So if they even think you're an informant, you cooperated with the government, you're a hit. And on the flip side of that coin, the government routinely sends people there that they know cooperated. That's in your PSI. So the government has access to it. They know exactly who you are. You don't just go to Pine Knot, Kentucky, McQuarrie. It's a whole process. When you get sentenced, you got to sit there until they designate you. Then they'll take you to Oklahoma City or Atlanta, wherever, and you might sit there 2 or 3 more weeks until they get a spot for you. So when they send you to a United States penitentiary, the staff, the warden, the BOP, the FBI, everyone who's in a position to need to know what's going on there knows exactly what's going on there, and they also know there's nothing they can do about it. This is how real it is in the United States Penitentiary. Let's say, for example, you go to the hole and the cops decide to beat you up while you're back there. It depends on who you are. But if they beat the wrong guy up with handcuffs, it might take a few days or a week or two for word to get back to the yard and 2 or 3 cops to get hit. And the prisoners that hits them don't give a doggone hoot about going to the hole or catching a new charge. What are you going to do to him? He's already got life without parole or 90 years. Couldn't care less. He would rather, he's more important, he's more concerned. He's come to terms with the fact this is his home. He's never going to be released. So if you got 50 years, you got to do 85% of it. So what does that come out to? 43, 47 years or whatever. You're a hit. You're 40 years old. You're never getting out. So a prisoner who's doing that kind of time in an environment like that where violence rules the day, they're more concerned with making their name than they're worried about any potential consequences that may come. But it's so bad in United States penitentiaries, and I'm sure other states do it now, but they really got on it. They got 2 officers working every unit, and both of them's got stab-proof vests on. You know why? Because they're on the menu too. And see, in United States penitentiary, they don't have no firearms. There is no shooter or whatever like a prison guard in the units. And the unit's open all day. It's like a big-ass day room in the United States penitentiary. If it's not count time or lockdown or nighttime or whatever, you're out just to roam around in this day room, and it's this constant chaos, mayhem, noise, aggravation. Maybe not violence all the time, but everybody knows who's there at any given time. Violence could happen, and in another unit, you could be locked down over in this unit too for a month. And the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they put people in there knowing that they're going to have problems and get hit. I've seen it many times when I was doing that 10 years. They'll take somebody who cooperated on their case, send them right to a United States penitentiary, knowing that they're going to get sweated for their paperwork, and if it ain't right, they're going down like a bad habit. Or if they don't get hit and they run and check into PC, they might be in PC for a year or two. Go 6 months in Macquarie or 8 or 10 months in Macquarie PC, and what they'll do is they'll come back there and order you to the yard, and if you don't go, you'll get an incident report. You'll get in trouble in the United States Penitentiary for trying not to get stabbed viciously on the yard, and they have to do that 3 times before they'll transfer you. You know, when you're in the hole, you're in the cell over here, they might be PCs right across the hall. You know, so when so it's not like they're on just one range, but they put them in the cell together. So a good marker of about if somebody's in PC, and it don't always go down like this, but if you got a white guy in the cell with a black guy, or a white guy in the cell with a Latin brother, you know what I mean? Like, because they would never put you in a cell out of your race if you're a good standard. It's just not going to happen. The BOP does this to people all the time, knowing what's going to happen to them when they get to where they're going. All right? And the truth is, no attorneys, any attorney that represents federal prisoners who's involved in the federal system, they know exactly what's going on too. But nobody wants to sue the federal government because they'll tangle you up in so much red tape. Even when they're 100% wrong, they'll tangle you up in so much red tape, you're going to have a lot of time and a lot of money on your hand trying to deal with these people. So it just turns into it's a vicious system. And they routinely release monsters back on the street. And their main concern is just keeping everybody in the prison. If they can keep everybody in the prison and all their staff gets to go home at the end of the day without being assaulted or accosted by prisoners who doesn't care if the sun doesn't rise in the morning, they consider that a big win. Hey, if I feel you guys bite the dust in here because you couldn't make the cut or you cooperated or whatever else people don't like you for, oh well, I mean, you know, that's just part of the bid. That'd be a big win for them, just keeping everybody in the prison and none of their staff gets assaulted that day. So officers are on the menu, the warden's on the menu, everybody's on the menu. Nobody's 100% safe, no matter who you think you are, where you come from. You know, you're dealing with people of your caliber or above. Okay? So, you know, whatever you are doing on the streets, whatever you got going on, if the federal government busts you and you find yourself in the United States Penitentiary, you might be a real badass. I give you that. I ain't going to try to take that from you. But you're going to be surrounded by people who are just as much of a badass as you are, or a whole lot worse. You know, you got little demons and you got big bad demons. You know what I mean? So this would be the situation you find yourself in. Gangs do rule. Yeah, they do rule. Now, with that said, you all in the white for the white guys, you will always have a huge independent car. But what does that mean? What does that really mean? So when you're an independent white guy, okay, if you're in the United States Penitentiary, if you're Mexican, you're going to run with an organization. You're not going to be independent. Okay, white guys have that option. You do not have to join a gang, but you probably could if you chose to, depending on who you are and can you make the cut. So after you show your paperwork, that don't mean you in the know. That just means that we do not have to viciously assault you and run you out of here because you're not a government informant. We've checked your paperwork. You don't have no SA charges. You're not a government informant. You didn't check in another jail. The whole thing with checking in is this. If you ran over there, what makes us think you won't run over here if something happens over here? You checked in over there, you ain't no warrior. A real warrior don't run, no matter what the odds is or what the situation is. He might go down, he might get hurt bad, but a real warrior don't run. And if you ran over there, for whatever reason, you may have had valid reasons, man. I'm not going to get into that one way or another with you. But if you ran over there, you're probably going to run over here too when we need you the most. So when you're not going to make the cut. If you're informed, if you have a 6 ace charge, anything like that, you're just not going to make the cut. The policy is there's only room here for white warriors. I'm just being honest with you. I mean, I know this is outside of the norm of what the average Joe, is acceptable in society, but the rules in society is 100% reversed when you get into a place like that. All right? So you got your white gangs, you got your black gangs, you got your brown gangs. I don't really like that. Organizations, you know what I mean? Like, it's a better way to describe it. I don't like to say gang because I like this makes them sound insignificant. And they're not insignificant at all right? So what does it mean to be an independent white guy? Okay? It means you're not a part of any prison organization. Okay? Well, what that really means is right here. You're going to usually, maybe not exclusively, but you're going to hang out with your homeboys from whatever area of the country you're from. So let's say you're from California. You might hang out with California dudes, New Mexico dudes. Well, you're going to hang out with California dudes because you're from California. There's going to be a lot of white dudes from California in the feds. Not a huge amount, but a reasonable number. And then you're going to have, so let's say out of New York, or South Carolina, wherever you're from. You're going to be hanging with your homies. You're going to be working out with your homies. You'll be cooking with your homies, probably selling with your homies. Or maybe somebody from, Boston if you're from New York, or Philly if you're from New York, or, that general region. Also, your car is going to basically run the same rules as federal white gangs. So whatever rules they run, which are anything other than what's independent to that organization. So they're going to get sex offense, XA, SA. Okay, they're going to get a check-in artist. Okay, and they're going to get someone who informed. You're going to have to do the same thing if you want to make the cut, even as an independent. You got to show your paperwork. You have to put work in. I'm from New York. Oh, I ran from New York. I'm from South Carolina. I'm from the East Coast, man. I'm an East Coast renegade. But I fell out of New York. I ran with New York. So I'm in the New York car. Independent white dude in the New York car. If somebody comes in from New York and they're no good, i.e. they cooperated with the government, they got a SA charge, or they checked in at another facility, anything like that, and I just got there, I'm up, I got to go get the guy. And usually they're going to send 2 people, me and another guy, to go jump on this guy. You don't get a fair one. Okay, that's another thing. You ain't getting no fair one. Well, we're going to jump on this guy and get rid of him. We don't want him here no more. Okay, and that's a message to everybody involved. This guy's not welcome here. 2 white guys jumped on one. That usually ain't never going to happen unless the other white guys in that car said this guy's no good, he's got to go. So that's a message to all involved. Me and the guy who did the jumping, we'll be back out the hole in about 5 to 10 days. The guy that got jumped, he might be in the hole for 4 to 8 months waiting to get shipped to another facility. It's hard and it ain't fair, but it's the truth, and that's the way I'm going to bring it to you on this channel. All right? And I tell you what, man, I did 2 years in Macquarie, and I did 10 years in the United States Penitentiary, different penitentiaries. And they're horrible places, man. And when you go into one of those places, that's the reason why I consume marijuana right now. Not because I'm just a super pothead, but because it's a great medication for PTSD, which when I first came out of prison, I did have a really bad case of. And for the most part, I'm getting over it, putting it in the rear view now. And I'm doing YouTube, and I'm always outside. So if I got a little stain on my t-shirt, I'm always outside doing some kind of outdoor activity. And I'm an outdoorsman and a backpacker and an urban camper and a hiker and all kind of other things, artists and musicians and stuff. And it was one of the most horrifying experiences of my life, man, being in United States Penitentiary, Canaan. I was there too, United States Penitentiary, Macquarie. And you just need to know what you're getting yourself involved in, man. If you're out there running the highways and the byways, doing big boy things, if the feds and you get busted and the feds decide to pick your case up, they got somewhere for you, man, that you don't even know exists. It's off in the middle of a mountain somewhere, also called Homicide Mountain, all right? Or in the backwoods of a swamp. They got to take a little winding little 2-lane highway to get there. The prison bus takes up most of the road, all right? And when you get back there, it's going to look kind of nice from the outside. Concrete, you know, and big guard tires, you know, horrible and horrifying looking, but, you know, somewhat well manicured, all right, because they got the campers that do all that outside the fences, all right? But once you get in there, you are truly in the belly of the beast, all right? And just because a judge sent you to a federal penitentiary don't mean you're coming out. And that's another thing about the federal system, man. When you're in federal court, all the lawyers and everything, they're wearing these $1,000 suits. I mean, it's sharp, man. Federal court, it's sharp. Wood, you know, mahogany paneling, big tables for the most part. And they got real modern ones too, you know, but it's just a completely different courtroom from any state courtroom, all right? And so you're saying to yourself, yeah, man, I mean, this is like really clean and nice. But until you realize it's the United States of America versus you. All right, and when you end up getting sentenced and you find yourself in the belly of this beast, it'll just chew you up, man, spit you out. It does. Homicide is regular, okay? Severe assaults and beat downs and all kind of stuff. But let's talk about a couple of misnomers that is not going to happen. If you're a white guy in a active United States penitentiary, you're never going to be SA'd. Other white guys, this will not stand for it. It's not happening. This is not happening. Okay? Never. It just ain't gonna happen. And if you're and I'm gonna find a way to properly phrase this. If you practice an alternative lifestyle and you're white, and it's discovered, you will immediately be ran off. And the reasoning for that, and I'm not saying it's good reasoning or bad reason, don't hate the messenger, I'm just telling you the truth. You can't allow white guys to come out here and start having intimate relationships and doing whatever kind of stuff they do and make the whole race look weak. They got to go. And I'm just keeping it real. And there's nothing the prison staff can do about it. All this equal rights stuff, it might play out here on the streets, but in there, they got their own rules, their own laws, and like I said, the prison staff would just consider it a successful day if they could contain everybody in the prison and none of their staff get chewed up, spit out. It's a pretty serious place and a pretty serious environment, and hopefully you never find yourself there. I just wanted to bring you this episode, man, and enjoy a little bit of good ganja with you, man, and let you know we're going to keep SHU up and pumping. I've had videos that did really, really well, man. Got like 2,000 or 3,000 views, and then I've got others that only got like 60 views or whatever, which is still a blessing. But it just kind of makes me think I just need to continuously produce content. And if I can get people to give me the thumbs up, maybe think about subscribing, it would really help the channel out. So until next time, stay up. Peace.